We all love warfare and fantasy. An invincible ghost army comes out of nowhere, kills everyone, and wins the fight. Wait, that can't be it. Let's rewind here. Whether it's small skirmishes, massive sieges, or epic showdowns between the hero and the villain, not every battle scene is equally gripping. Even in some of the best movies ever, certain scenes can fall flat, lacking the tension and satisfying resolution that makes them truly memorable. So how can you make sure that your story doesn't suffer this fate? Well, let's find out. Every great battle starts with understanding the stakes. What's at risk? Why should the reader care? You need to build up the tension and stakes long before the first sword is drawn or the first spell is cast. Think about it. Why do we get so invested in these battles? It's because something crucial is on the line. Whether it's the survival of a beloved character, the fate of a kingdom, or personal vendetta, the stakes drive the tension and excitement. Your characters should have skin in the game. They need personal reasons to fight. Consider the Battle of Helm's Deep in The Lord of the Rings. This isn't just about a fortress under siege. It's about the survival of Rohan, the protection of its people, and the courage of a few standing against many. These stakes are immense and deeply personal, but the types of stakes can vary widely depending on the story. In Game of Thrones, for example, battles often revolve around political power and personal grudges. In Harry Potter, it's a fight between good and evil, with the fate of the entire wizarding world at stake. To raise the stakes in your own writing, consider tying the battle to your character's personal goals and fears. If they have something personal to lose, the stakes will automatically feel much higher. You also want to make the consequences of failure immediate and severe. This could be the loss of a key location, the death of important characters, or a significant setback in the main quest. Finally, consider introducing moral dilemmas that force characters to make tough choices. This reveals their true natures and tests their resolve by adding a compelling layer of conflict to the action. Next time you're plotting out a battle, ask yourself, what's at stake? What makes this battle matter to your characters and to your readers? Clearly defining these elements will keep your readers hooked, eagerly turning the pages to see what happens next. Alright, let's now dive into something that can make your battle scenes truly unforgettable. The tactics and strategies. Great battle scenes go beyond clashing swords and flashy magic. Without a clear strategy, even the most epic battles can fall flat. So how do you craft tactics that feel authentic and compelling? Now, in historical battles, leaders had to consider several key elements: terrain, troop formations, supply lines, and morale. The same principles ideally apply to your fantasy battle. Think about how your armies are organized, how they move, and how they plan to outmaneuver their opponents. Let's kick things off with terrain. The environment plays a crucial role in the outcome of a battle. High ground, forests, rivers, and fortresses can all change the dynamics. Remember the Battle of Winterfell in Game of Thrones? While the execution of this scene had many flaws, the underlying strategy was not completely off. Defending Winterfell involved placing archers on the walls, setting up trebuchets, and digging trenches to slow down the enemy. It's a good example of thinking about the defensive capabilities and using the environment to their advantage. Now, again, how these elements were implemented during the Battle of Winterfell was far from exemplary. It's their presence in general that is meant to be emphasized here. Next, let's talk about formations and maneuvers. Different formations can change the dynamics of a battle all by themselves. Consider shield walls, phalanxes, and cavalry charges. Each has its strengths and weaknesses. Take the Battle of Helm's Deep as an example again. The defenders use a strong defensive formation within the fortress, employing shield walls and well-coordinated archers to hold off the vast Uruk-hai army. The strategic use of the narrow causeway and the keep's fortifications demonstrates how formations and positioning can make a significant difference in battle outcomes. So now let's talk logistics and supply lines then. Because battles aren't just fought on the front lines after all. Maintaining supply lines and managing resources can equally determine the success or failure of an entire campaign. In Game of Thrones, during the Battle of the Blackwater, Tyrion Lannister uses wildfire to disrupt Stannis Baratheon's fleet and cut off his supply lines. Having said that, we should not forget about morale either in this situation. The spirit and determination of your troops can turn the tide of battle in any situation. High morale can inspire soldiers to fight harder, while low morale can lead to chaos and defeat. Think about Braveheart. William Wallace's speeches before battle are legendary for their impact on morale. His words inspire his men to fight with unmatched fervor against the English, showing how crucial strong leadership and morale can be in motivating troops and influencing the battle's outcome. Now, aside from these larger scale battles, smaller skirmishes and duels may also play a critical role in your story. These moments add a personal touch to the larger conflict, providing intense, focused bursts of action that can be just as compelling as massive battles. In a skirmish, tactics become more intimate and improvisational. The terrain might be a dense forest or narrow alleyway, where ambushes and guerrilla tactics come into play. Characters need to think on their feet, using the environment to their advantage. This is where personal vendettas and quick thinking can turn the tide. Duels, then, are the ultimate test of individual skill and resolve. Whether it's a clash of swords, a magical showdown, or a test of wits, duels strip away the chaos of the battlefield to focus on the intense personal stakes. These moments can reveal a lot about your characters, their strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. In Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, for example, the duel between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader is a pivotal moment. It reveals Luke's raw determination and growing skills, while also exposing his vulnerabilities and the deep personal connection to his opponent.
I am your father.
The stakes are intensely personal, with the revelation of Vader's true identity adding emotional weight to the battle. By focusing on realistic tactics and strategies, regardless of the size of the battle, you can create scenes that are not only exciting, but also believable. Magic can add an extra layer of excitement to your battle. Suddenly, it's not just about swords and arrows anymore, it's about how supernatural forces can tip the scales in unexpected ways. So how do you incorporate dragons, magical creatures overall, or magic itself into realistic strategies? It all starts with understanding the role of magic in your world. Is magic common or rare? Can anyone use it, or is it limited to a few gifted individuals? These questions will shape how you incorporate magic into your battles. Picture this: a battlefield where spells rain down like arrows, where sorcerers conjure storms to hinder their enemies, and where mythical beasts fight alongside human soldiers. The key to making this work is to blend these elements seamlessly into your strategy. Think about how magical abilities can complement traditional tactics. For instance, a mage might use a spell to create a thick fog, providing cover for an advancing army. This combines the element of surprise with the magical element, making the tactic more effective and engaging. Remember the Battle of Hogwarts in the Harry Potter series? Wizards use protective spells to create barriers. Magical creatures like giants and acromantulas joined the fray, and students used their knowledge of potions and spells to set traps and ambushes. This mix of magic and strategy made the battle dynamic and unpredictable. So now let's shift our focus to logistics in magic. How does the inclusion of magic change the way armies move and supply themselves? Imagine using teleportation spells or portals for rapid troop movements, circumventing the need for traditional supply lines and enabling surprise attacks. But remember, in order to keep the tension high, these magical methods should have limitations, such as requiring significant energy or being vulnerable to counterspells. Now, when it comes to magical creatures, think about how they can add a unique dimension to the battlefield. These beings can turn the tide of a battle by their sheer presence, but they also come with their own sets of challenges. Imagine the strategic use of griffins in your story. Such majestic creatures can provide aerial support, scouting enemy positions, and attacking from above, but they are not invulnerable. Archers and enemy mages can target them, adding a layer of risk to their use. We should not forget about magical artifacts either though. These items can provide significant advantages, but should be used thoughtfully. An enchanted sword might cut through armor with ease, but perhaps it drains the wielder's strength with each strike. A powerful amulet could protect against magical attacks, but using it might attract the attention of dark forces. In the Legend of Zelda series, for example, Link often relies on magical items to defeat his foes. Each item has its own strengths and weaknesses, and Link must learn to use them strategically to overcome various challenges. The inclusion of such artifacts can deepen the complexity of your battles, transforming them into tests of wit and resourcefulness. Now finally, consider the emotional and psychological impact of magic on your characters. The use of powerful magic could come with a cost, such as depleting vital resources or causing moral dilemmas. This would make your character's decisions more complex and the stakes even higher. Remember, the goal is always to enhance the story, not to overshadow it with spectacle. Now, if you found anything useful in the video so far, please consider giving it a like to help me grow the channel. Thank you. Characters drive your story, and this is no different in battle scenes. The most gripping battles are those where we care deeply about the participants, where their personal stakes and growth are intertwined with the conflict. So how do you create characters that make your readers invested in the outcome of your battles? Start with your leaders. These characters often set the tone for the battle. They are the strategists, the ones who rally the troops and make the tough decisions. Think about Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings. His leadership is crucial during the Battle of Helm's Deep and the final assault on Mordor. Aragorn isn't just a warrior, he's a symbol of hope and courage, and his personal journey from ranger to king enriches every battle he fights. Next, let's turn our attention to the soldiers. These characters might not be in command, but they are the ones who experience the battle firsthand. They bring a ground-level perspective that can be incredibly compelling. Consider the soldiers at the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones. While Jon Snow eventually takes command, the individual soldiers' experiences and struggles on the front lines are what makes the battle so visceral and intense. The bravery, fear, and determination brings a lot of realism and emotion to the scene. And finally, don't forget about the unsung heroes, the healers, the spies, and the engineers. These characters play crucial roles behind the scenes, often making the difference between victory and defeat. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, characters like Katara, who serves as both a healer and a waterbending warrior, increase the complexity of the group's dynamic. Her role goes beyond fighting, such as keeping the team together and ensuring their survival. Now, here's a thought. Imagine being in a battle yourself. Who would you want by your side? The fearless leader? The loyal soldier? Or the cunning strategist? Maybe even the unsung hero? Each of these characters adds a unique element to the story, making the battle scenes more compelling if properly thought through. But creating memorable characters also means giving them personal stakes in the battle. Why are they fighting? And what do they stand to lose or gain? Personal stakes is what makes the conflict feel real and urgent. Take the Hunger Games for example. Katniss Everdeen's participation in the games is driven by her desire to protect her sister. This personal motivation makes her fight much more compelling and relatable. Developing your characters' relationships over time is another way then to increase the emotional depth of your battles. Bonds of friendship, love, or rivalry can heighten the tension and drama. Lastly, don't shy away from showing the impact of battle on your characters. Physical injuries, emotional scars, and moral dilemmas can make their personalities much more interesting and their journeys way more compelling. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's transformation from a naive farm boy to a battle-hardened Jedi is marked by the trials he faces, including the loss of his mentors and friends. These experiences shape his character and heavily influence the epic battles he fights. Remember, the goal is to make your readers care about your character so much that they are deeply invested in their fates. Let's now talk about something that can make or break your battle scenes: the setting. Picture this. You've got your characters ready, your stakes are sky high, and the strategies are in place. But where's all this action happening? The setting can define a whole new layer for your story. Imagine you're riding a battle in a dense, shadowy forest. The trees are thick, the light is dim, and every sound is muffled by the leaves. Perfect for ambushes, right? After all, your characters can use the forest to hide, to surprise, or to outmaneuver their opponents. But how about a mountain pass then? High grounds are a classic advantage in battles, but mountains are tricky. They can be a fortress or a death trap. Consider The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies. The rocky slopes of the Lonely Mountain play a huge role in the tactics and drama of the battle. The terrain itself becomes a character in the story, shaping their action. But it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty parts of everything here. Open fields, for instance, are great for large-scale maneuvers. But with all that open space in mind, there's nowhere to hide. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, has that epic battle of the Pelennor Fields, where the vastness of the plain lets you see the sheer scale of the conflict. It's grand, it's open, and it's brutal, and the vastness here plays a crucial role. But let's spice things up even further by adding the weather. Have you ever thought how a storm could shake things up? Picture a sudden downpour turning the entire battlefield into a slippery mess, or a thick fog rolling in, making it impossible to see the enemy until they are right on top of you. Weather can change the entire battle in unpredictable ways. But when talking about weather, we also need to consider rivers, cliffs, or swamps that affect the weather, and that are all more than just scenery too. They are strategic elements. For example, in Braveheart, William Wallace uses the narrow Stirling Bridge to trap the English army. It's a smart use of terrain, turning a disadvantage into a tactical win. Your settings can do the same. Transform the way battles play out by adding depth and complexity. And settings aren't just about geography. Think about the time of day. A battle at dawn can symbolize hope and new beginnings, while a twilight skirmish might feel more desperate and urgent. The environment can echo the emotions of your characters and the stakes of the conflict. But finally, let's talk about the toll of the environment on your characters. Harsh settings test their limits constantly. In Mad Max Fury Road, for example, the desert isn't just there, silently existing. It's a relentless adversary. The struggle for survival in such a brutal landscape intensifies every single scene. So next time you're crafting a battle, don't just set the stage. Make the stage an integral part of the drama. You want your readers to feel like they are right in the thick of it. Try to think of your battle scenes like a roller coaster. You need those thrilling drops and sharp turns, but you also need moments of calm to let your readers catch their breath. This balance between action and reflection is what makes a battle scene truly gripping. Controlling the tempo of your battle is essential. You want to vary the speed of events to keep your audience on the edge of their seat. You could start with a bang, yes, absolutely. Something like a sudden ambush or the clash of armies. But don't keep the pedal to the metal the entire time. Slow down occasionally. Show your characters strategizing, tending to the wounded, or having brief moments of introspection. These slower scenes can make the fast-paced action even more intense by contrast. Let's take a look at a well-paced battle scene from The Return of the King. The Battle of Pelennor Fields, as mentioned before, starts with a massive cavalry charge. It's high energy, chaotic, and overwhelming. But then, we get moments of respite. Characters catching their breath, regrouping, and planning their next move. Remember, a battle isn't just about the physical clash, it's about the emotional journey of your characters. The tension, the fear, the determination, all these emotions need space to breathe. By varying the tempo, you allow readers to experience the full spectrum of the battle's intensity. Let's dive into the heart of battle scenes, the chaos and emotion. Battles are messy, unpredictable, and charged with drama. Capturing this in your writing can make your scenes unforgettable. First, let's talk about chaos. Battlefields are chaotic by nature. Arrows flying, swords clashing, the deafening roar of combat, all these elements contribute to the pandemonium. But how do you convey this chaos without overwhelming your readers? One effective technique is to focus on sensory details. Describe the sounds of the battlefield, the clash of steel, the thud of arrows hitting shields, the cries of the wounded. Then use visual details to paint a vivid picture of the scene, like the smoke from cannons, the bloodstained ground, or the confusion as soldiers scramble to follow orders. By immersing your readers in this sensory experience, you can convey the chaos more effectively. Take the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, for example. The D-Day landing is depicted with such raw intensity that you feel as if you're in the midst of the chaos yourself. The camera follows individual soldiers, showing their frantic movements, the disorienting noise, and the sheer terror of the situation. This close focus on individual experiences makes the overall chaos feel more real and immediate. But next, let's move to the emotional side of the battle. Warfare isn't just a physical ordeal, it's an emotional crucible. Fear, anger, determination, and sorrow all come to the forefront in the heart of battle. But how do you capture these intense emotions in your writing then? Well, start with your characters again. Show their reactions to chaos around them. Are they calm and composed, or are they panicking? Do they feel a surge of adrenaline, or are they overwhelmed by fear? As an example, think about Gladiator and the character of Maximus. In the arena, his emotions range from cold determination to fierce anger. These emotions drive his actions and make the battles compelling. The audience isn't just watching a fight, they are experiencing Maximus's journey, feeling his pain and triumph. Capturing the chaos and emotion of battle is about more than just describing the action. It's about immersing your readers in the sensory details and delving into your character's emotional states to convey this full spectrum of combat. Now, we've talked about the battles themselves, but what about what happens after the dust settles? The aftermath and consequences of a battle are just as crucial as the fight itself. It's here where the lasting impact of the conflict on your characters and the world around them is shown. Imagine this: the battlefield is quiet now, littered with the remnants of war. The survivors are left to pick up the pieces, both physically and emotionally. This is where you can delve even deeper into character development and world building. Think about the physical consequences. Characters might be dealing with injuries, both minor or life-threatening. These wounds can affect their abilities and decisions in future conflicts. But it's not just about the physical scars. Emotional and psychological consequences can be even more compelling. Trauma, grief, and guilt can haunt your characters long after the battle is over. In Saving Private Ryan, Captain Miller and his men are deeply affected by the loss of their comrades. This emotional weight is present throughout the rest of their journey. Think about how the aftermath of a battle can create entire new storylines and conflicts. Maybe the victory comes at a great cost, leading to moral dilemmas and tough decisions. Or it was a devastating defeat that needs to be faced. Take the Hunger Games as an example again, where the destruction of District 12 profoundly impacts Katniss and fuels her resolve to fight against the Capitol. But don't forget about the personal consequences either. Relationships can be strained or strengthened in the wake of battle. Characters might seek revenge or redemption, driven by the events they've experienced. So always remember, the aftermath of a battle is where you can explore the long-term effects of conflict and show your characters' growth and resilience. So, here we are, the grand finale, the final battle, the climax of your story where all the threads come together in a spectacular showdown. Crafting this epic showdown is all about delivering a satisfying resolution that rewards your readers for sticking with your story. First things first, let's make sure we've actually built up to this climax. Your final battle should be the culmination of everything your characters have faced so far. It's where stakes, strategy, characters, and magic all converge. Think of it like Avengers Endgame. The final battle against Thanos isn't just a massive spectacle, it's a payoff for years of storytelling, character development, and rising tension. But let's circle back to the beginning and talk about stakes once more. By now, the stakes should be sky high. Everything your characters care about is on the line. The fate of the world, the safety of loved ones, personal vendettas, these are the ingredients that make your finale gripping. Now is the time to integrate all the elements you've developed throughout this video. Remember those tactics and strategies we've discussed? Bring them into play in your final battle. Use the terrain to your advantage, deploy formations and maneuvers, and ensure that logistics and morale are crucial factors. And obviously, don't forget about the characters, because this is their moment to shine. Each important character should have a role to play, whether it's leading the charge, providing critical support, or making a heroic sacrifice. Their personal journeys should intersect with the battle's outcome. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, for example, the Battle of Hogwarts showcases every character's growth and courage. From Neville Longbottom's bravery to Molly Weasley's fierce protection of her family. Each character's arc reaches a satisfying conclusion. And as discussed, magic and supernatural elements can add an extra layer of excitement to your battle scenes. This is no different in your finale, but remember that balance is key. Ensure that magic complements the strategy and doesn't overshadow the human element. As much as you want to create a spectacle, and if it fits your story, you definitely should, don't lose track of the intimacy of your reader's experience with your characters. Otherwise, it ends up being an unsatisfying arrangement of action and fireworks. And finally, as mentioned before, it's all about delivering a satisfying resolution. Make sure to wrap up all the major plot points, but don't tie everything up too neatly. Leave some room for the reader's imagination and future stories. Think of Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King once more. After the grand battle, the story continues, with the characters returning home, dealing with the aftermath and finding peace. Yet there are hints of future adventures and untold stories, like Sam's future with his family and the unexplored lands of Middle-earth. This approach allows the world you've built to feel alive and ongoing, inviting readers to imagine what might happen next. And I can't stress enough, the final battle is your chance to deliver a powerful conclusion that resonates with your audience. It's the payoff for all the build-up, all the character development, and all the intricate plotting. So make sure it counts. Now, while this video shared all the fundamentals you need to craft such captivating battle scenes, there is always more to explore. Check out this video here to learn about fantasy warfare from the lens of 8 common mistakes that new fantasy writers often make.